Hey, everybody. Happy Tuesday morning. No, Wednesday morning. It's Wednesday. It's a day later than I usually go live. Oh my gosh. End of school craziness. Hi, is it Corinda? Hi, how are you? Welcome. So, who else is in the end of the school year craziness? Got kids, school's getting out, figuring out what you're going to do. Still for summer, maybe that. I feel ya. Hi, Tina. So, I wanted to talk to y'all about something that is not only super important, but has been, up in my world so much the past months. First of all, who has been feeling like this deep need to dive in and look in yourself, go into yourself, and kind of clear out some of that mental crap that you may have going on? Raise your hand. Me. Saying me. Hi. Hi, Tina. So, this is the transition I've been in, a feeling I've been in myself the past months. I've noticed it in a lot of people. I think it's ultimately a really, really good thing. And one of the things that has come up for me, and I've noticed in other people, that has come up for other people, and even the clients that I'm working with, is this feeling of that you don't measure up somehow. Can you relate to that? Say yes in the comments. Hey, Chris, good morning. If you do. And especially, oh my gosh, especially if you're a person, right? If you're human and you're alive, you could probably relate to this. But gosh, when you're an entrepreneur, and you have your own business and you're trying to do all these things that you've never done before, and go live and you haven't done a live stream, or you feel like you suck at it, or you're not as good as the other person, feeling like you don't measure up in some way is like this plague that affects so many people. And Tina says, yes, you relate. Yeah. And, when I looked back at my own life, it's like all of a sudden I could see all of the ways that this feeling like I didn't measure up in some way was showing up. And Chris says, yes, I've been working through the perception of not good enough. Yeah. So, and I always forget I have this awesome agenda on Be Live. I'm forgetting. Let me put the title up here so it is on the video. Feel like you don't measure up. That's the topic. The topic, really, what I want to share with you today is how to stop beating yourself up. Finally, how to finally stop beating yourself up, or at least start down that path. Because there is no good that comes out of beating yourself up, feeling like you don't measure up, for you, for anybody around you. So, if you don't know who I am, by the by, I am Christine Parma, and I help heart-centered go-getters to really align with their soul's purpose, get really clear on what they want in their lives, and clear out the junk that is getting in the way of you actually getting it. And I'm a person who loves the woo-woo stuff. I love the spiritual stuff. I'm in the middle of getting towards the end of getting certified in reading Akashic Records. I'll be sharing a special opportunity for you at the end of the live stream today, so make sure you hang out for that as part of that certification program that I'm going through. But I love taking everything and applying it in the practical world, because you know what? At the end of the day, we're humans. We're living in this physical world, and all of the spiritual mindset, neurolinguistic programming, Akashic Record stuff that I do for myself and my clients, it's all aimed at helping to create more abundance in your life, more joy, more happiness, more fulfillment, and more success, however you define it. And enjoy the journey along the way. So if you want to know more about me, you can find out more about me at christineparma.com. So I want to first talk about and share with you guys and hear from you how this feeling like you don't measure up shows up in your life. And I know there's a lag, so while I'm talking, go ahead and type it in the comments. Like, what's one way that you feel sometimes like you don't measure up? How's that show up for you? Hi, Yvonne. Chris says she also loves the woo-woo stuff. Absolutely, the woo-woo stuff is where it's at, right? So I'll share with you some of the aha moments I had about my own life. I was like, oh my gosh, when I started looking back, I mean, it can manifest in so many ways. It can manifest in I've got to work hard for money or success pattern. The overachiever thing. Oh man, did I do that in school? How many type A overachievers in school? Raise your hands. Woot! Had to be the A student, right? The A plus student. Gave myself an ulcer in 8th grade over the stress of feeling like I was stupid in school. You know, that was one big one for me. Being the go-to helper, right? The yes person. The person at work or the person, you know, for all your friends and family that says yes to everybody. That because you're afraid of saying no, because then you feel like you're not being good enough, right? Are you relating to any of these? So if one of these resonates with you, just type it in the comments, or, you know, comment with your own way that not measuring up shows up for you. A perfectionist, right? Everything has to be perfect or it's not good enough. You have to be perfect or you're not good enough. Compare and despair. Wow, is this a huge one just in life in general? But I know for sure when I was, you know, starting my business, and even sometimes now, it's like it sneaks in there. I feel that jealousy or that envy, like, oh, they had such a big launch, or oh, I wish I had thought of that program, or oh, I wish, you know, I was at this level in my business, or this or that. It's compare and despair. Not good, right? It's another sneaky form of feeling like you don't measure up. Going over your past mistakes again and again and again, and beating yourself up ad infinitum over a past mistake. You know, thinking like, oh, I should have done it differently. I knew that person was lying to me, or I should have trusted my intuition. You know, I'm so stupid for having made that mistake. That's another way. Chris says that she compares. Yeah. And Tina's saying being the go-to person, and I have to work hard to make money resonate. Yeah. The working hard, the overwork pattern is one that I became aware of in myself, and I have been doing a lot of work around to change in myself. And I'll save it for kind of another live stream, what I've done, but it involves a lot of structure, and that structure has given me freedom and has helped me break that overwork pattern. And then another way is to prove yourself, right? So how many of y'all are, well, I guess, you know, if you're an entrepreneur or you're professional, how many of you do you feel like you need all the letters after your name, right? All the, you know, qualifications. You have to prove that you're good enough and that you're qualified by having all these string of letters after your last name before you feel like you're good enough to help somebody, or you feel like you know what you're talking about. And even then, a lot of times you don't feel like it, right? Even if you have all the letters after your last name. Does that resonate with anybody? Say yes, or give me a thumbs up, or hit the heart button if it resonates with you. Chris says me. Yeah. We've talked about this, Chris, I know. Yes, and you know what? Totally get it. Totally get it. And of course you do. Because, and Tina says yes too. I mean, what does society tell us? What are they conditioning us to believe? That you're not qualified, you're not good enough until you have 45 letters after your last name, right? You're not qualified to help people until you've had 10 years of experience doing what you do. But it's like, how the hell do you get the experience if you don't start? You can't get the experience until you start helping people, unless you, and the letters after your last name, what are you supposed to spend 10 years getting the letters after your last name before you start helping people? You know, I mean, that's one way you can go about it, and that's very much down the path of I'm not good enough until I have all of these things in place first. Yvonne says not feeling like she has anything new to offer of value. Yeah, that's a great one. Thank you for sharing that. Right. Everything's already been done. Everybody's doing it. I'm not unique. I'm nothing special. I have nothing new to add to the conversation or It's not going to really be enough value to share with someone. Well, heck, I could say that about this live stream right now. If I had felt that, if I had let that stop me, I wouldn't be here right now talking to you. And I know that, and it has been my experience because I started doing these live streams in spite of feeling like I might have nothing original to say and no one would watch and no one might get value from it, that I have had people say, oh my gosh, that was life-changing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And you will too. And I'm sure you may have also. Tina says she agrees with Yvonne about not feeling like she has anything else to offer. And Chris says we've taken on the perceptions from our environment and culture leading to confusion and lack of self-worth. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's really the heart of it, right? Lack of self-worth, lack of self-love and self-acceptance for being okay with exactly where you are right now and who you are right now, even as you aspire to step into and live into that greater, next, highest version of yourself. You can do both. This is something I realized fairly recently and or really clicked for me. It's it's not an either or of, feeling like you're good enough, but yet if you feel like you're good enough, then you have to give up on your dream or something. That's not the case. You can love yourself, accept yourself, feel like you're good enough, feel like you measure up, and still aspire to those things that you really want to be, do, or have. That is your next iteration, right? That's Christine 2.0 or 3.0 or 45.0 is probably be right now. The next version of me, the next highest version of you. So, we often so define ourselves by who we currently are or our current circumstances or even a diagnosis like our past experience. And this is part of the pattern of not measuring up. Like if you made a money mistake or 3 or 5 in the past, hello, me raising my hand on that one, you might have decided to define yourself as I'm bad with money, right? And that's a way that you remind yourself you don't measure up, or I'm not good at X, whatever that is, or I'm a diabetic, or I'm overweight, I'm unhealthy. All of these ways that we define ourselves and really label ourselves with what we perceive our shortcomings are. So essentially what it adds up to is this vicious cycle of shame, guilt, not good enough, and self-punishment. And it goes around and around and around. And this was a huge piece for me to really get for myself. Is this making sense to you? Are you resonating with this? Just hit a like or a comment if it is. And I'm checking my agenda real quick. Yeah. And I have my notes, of course. So I always prepare. So what can you do about it? Right? What can you do to get out of this cycle, to break this pattern of not feeling good enough or feeling like this, you almost can't help but punish yourself? Well, the first thing is, the first thing to really understand, and this really, where I first learned this was, wow, over 20 years ago. And I've got some yeses and hell yeses from Chris and Tina about resonating with that. Where I first learned this next piece I'm going to share was in neurolinguistic programming when I was getting certified forever ago. It seems like forever ago. And the principle is that we are all doing our very best with the resources that we have at any given moment. And the resources are defined as your thinking patterns, your beliefs, your habits, the way you're conditioned. We are all going through life trying to do our very best, to make the best decisions possible. Now, sometimes in hindsight, we're like, what the hell was I thinking? How could I ever have thought that was a good idea? How could I ever have thought that was the best decision, right? Yes, there are moments like that, maybe many moments like that. I know I've had a lot of them myself, the what was I thinking thing. But we are doing the best we can at any given moment. And if you take that to be true, and I know if you look at your life, even the big really big daddy mistakes that, you would label as mistakes, or even tragedies, perhaps, feel like something's went tragically wrong in your life. You were trying to make the best decision, and you did make the best decision you could at that time. So given that, don't you think you should have a little compassion for yourself? And one of the ways to start exercising and start undoing this feeling of not measuring up or being good enough and that self-punishment cycle is to have compassion for yourself. And one of the things you can tell yourself if you find yourself in this pattern, like, oh my gosh, I made this mistake and I made this choice and it was bad, is tell yourself, of course you made that choice. Of course, it made sense at the time. Of course you did. It was the best thing that you could think of to do at the time. And this is something that I learned fairly recently as far as exercising self-compassion for yourself is really looking at where you're beating yourself up and saying, of course I acted in that way because I felt like I didn't have any other choice. I felt like that was the best decision possible. So because this is a really good thing to practice too if you have kids. I'm realizing this is like a new angle on interacting with my kids and the way they behave, because they're coming from at it with their child perspective and their limited life experience and their enthusiasm, and they're not listening to mommy a lot of times. And it's like, well, of course he did that, because he was curious. Of course, he didn't listen to me because he's wanting to be his own person, right? So you can do this with yourself. Of course. And Chris says, giving yourself compassion and grace, giving myself compassion and grace has been huge. The choice was necessary so I could learn a lesson and grow from it. Yeah. And, it's like one of the things I've really realized is until you, until I really fully forgive myself and let go of this cycle of self-punishment, and accept, all facets of myself, this applies to everyone, you're blocking all those things you want. And this is another live stream I already have outlined, so it's coming next. It's about money and how self-acceptance and self-punishment and self-love factor into this. I had a huge download, aha moment when I was in my Akashic records recently that I want to share with y'all. But back to the techniques that I want to give you today. The first one is using this, of course, right? Of course you did. Exercising self-compassion. Chris says, yes. The second thing is that, after you're exercising this self-compassion and practicing this. This is like starting to put the first crack in ending this pattern, right? And breaking it down. You want to start to shift the belief in the pattern that's in place. So one of the great ways you can do this is by asking empowering questions. And I've gotten so much practice in doing this and working in my Akashic records and now doing readings for other people, which ties into the special announcement I have at the end for y'all and how you can have reading with me for free for a limited time. But asking empowering questions. So what do I mean by empowering questions? Well, you want to, if you're looking at ending this cycle of self-punishment, not feeling like you measure up, like you're not good enough, so you can really step into that confident person you want to become and you want to be, and have the courage to go do the things you want to do that you've been afraid of because you feel like you don't measure up, and all of these other things that you want for yourself and for your life, then, ask these questions. You want to learn the lesson, like Chris was saying, that's in there for you. Because everything that's happening it's being reflected in your world is, and I believe, is for you to learn from and grow. And it's about you growing and iterating into that next highest version of yourself and that next expansion of your soul and your soul's expression of your soul purpose here on earth. So, for example, an empowering question you might ask is, how has this pattern been serving me? Whatever that way is that you're beating yourself up about not being good enough or not measuring up, or the mistakes that you made, how has this pattern been serving me? What's the lesson here for me? What's this about? And this is a great one that I got recently, is how is this serving me to know my own goodness and the goodness of others? And I'll repeat that one because this one is super powerful. How is this, say, pattern or behavior or situation serving me to know my own goodness and the goodness of others? Wow. When you ask yourself this question, opens up a mountains of insight, a can of worms in the best way possible for understanding yourself and your patterns and how this has been serving you. Because once you know how it's serving you and how it's serving for you to know your own goodness and the goodness of other people, then you can choose to know the goodness of yourself in a different way, right? You don't have to come at knowing your goodness by beating yourself up anymore, by feeling like you're not good enough. So you're overworking, you're working hard, you're taking on other people's responsibilities to, be the go-to person at work. You're comparing yourself to others and, in the kind of twisted logic of, well, if I beat myself up enough for falling short and not being that good as they're good enough, then it'll somehow motivate me to be even better. And usually that comes in the form of working even more and working even harder or doing something destructive to yourself, in some way. Is this resonating with y'all? Is this making sense? If you have questions about what I'm talking about, please put them in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer them either live or coming back if you're catching it on the replay. So ask yourself these empowering questions. And it has been through asking myself these empowering questions just from a meditation standpoint, like connecting with my higher self, but even more specifically for me recently, and going into my Akashic records and asking these questions and getting information that way has been just, it's like hard to put into words how life transforming it's been for me, and how much more understanding I have for myself and others, and how much more compassion I have developed for myself. Because I will tell you, man, God, I used to be so hard on myself. I mean, damn, God, did I beat myself up for not being good enough, not measuring up, feeling like I didn't have value unless XYZ happened or unless I hit this bar. So I am speaking from experience here with what I am sharing. So Tina says, great question. Awesome. There are a lot more empowering questions, but you can start with those. Those will get you a long way in discovering the root of like the why for why you feel like you don't measure up. Why? What is this pattern about? What is it supposed to be teaching you? What are you meant to learn? How are you meant to grow from this pattern? What is it that's being put in your face over and over again? So hopefully you finally get it and you can move on, right? And I think one of the things that we're all supposed to finally get is that we're already good enough. It doesn't matter what your life looks like, what your circumstances are, how much you've achieved, or not achieved, how many dreams goals you've reached or not, you're already good enough. You already have value to add and offer. You already have full capability to be that person you want to be if we just get out of our own ways, right? We just have to get out of our own ways. And that involves taking out the trash, the mental trash, a lot, right? That's like the pipe of abundance and happiness and joy. It's like wanting to funnel all that to you, and you've clogged it up with a bunch of crap. And it's time to get the Drano, the mental Drano, and just clear that junk out and open up the pipes so that all the goodness that you deserve can flow to you. So that's really how I'm coming at it, and what is happening in my own life as I'm clearing stuff out. And just, gosh, I can't even begin. I don't want to like go down that tangent, but how radically different I am in the past several months. And people have told me this. It's hard to see your own change when you're like the person changing, right? But how differently I feel about myself and the work I do also. So last one I want to share with y'all is you want to align with what you want instead. So when you think about this pattern of beating yourself up or not feeling good enough, how do you want to feel instead? What do you want instead? If you're stuck in this overwork pattern and you find yourself, using the logic that I used to use of, well, if 40 hours a week gets me X results, this many results, then working 60 hours a week will, give me one and a half times as many results, or maybe even double. So work harder, work more, yada, yada, yada. Run yourself into the ground and burn out in a flaming ball of molten craziness, meltdown like I did. Don't do that. Don't do that. So, but what do you want instead? What, if you're not beating yourself up, what could you do instead? What would be something more empowered and more supportive of that life you want to create for yourself, or that person you want to be? What would that be? Write it down. Journal on it. Take some time to meditate and get quiet and go inside and get really clear on what you want for yourself, how you want to feel, how you want to show up in the world, and align with that. Clear the junk out of the way and then align with that. And by align with that, I mean, it's like put on that new you, that version of you, like a dress, right? And that's one way to do it, and act from that place of being that person, of being the person who doesn't beat yourself up. When you make a mistake, you're like, woo, well, that was a doozy. That didn't turn out like I wanted. And here's what I learned. And okay, so what's the next step? How do I proceed from here? And taking it in stride that way, instead of going into full on, 5 days of rehashing, or years of rehashing the mistakes and beating yourself up about it. So what do you want instead? Chris says the transformation is huge. Love it. Are you talking about me? The transformation in me that you can see? I think that's what you mean. Thank you. And yes, just transformation in general is huge too. Yeah. So it's amazing what starts to shift in your world, in your life, in your beingness, when you start dismantling these patterns that hold you hostage and keep you locked in the current reality you have, instead of being able to move with ease and grace and flow into that next highest version and expression of yourself. Chris says, yep. Thank you. I heart Chris. So if you have questions or comments, please leave them below the video, and I'll come back and answer them for you. And if you found this useful, please share it. My gosh, share it on your Facebook timeline, send it to a friend. Maybe something that is exactly the right thing that they need to hear. But before we go, I want to share with you the opportunity that I have for you. So like I mentioned, I've been in this year-long certification on learning about the Akashic Records and reading, oh, hearts back to you, hon, reading the Akashic Records for other people. And if you don't know what the Akashic Records are, I'll give you the really short version. Basically, imagine that there is a huge library, and in that energetic library, we'll call it the energetic library, are the records of you, of every past life you've ever had, everything you've ever done, every thought you've ever had, all about the relationships you've had, your soul, the contracts your soul has, and the present circumstances and all the possibilities and possible future versions of you. And it's all in this big library. And there are these really awesome librarians called the record keepers that it's their purpose to help you find the information you want from the library. So say you're feeling really confused right now about a situation in your life, or you're struggling with something in your life and you really want clarity or some extra knowledge around a situation. You can go ask your record keepers the questions and they will give you answers. And the answers will always be what is truth and light and love and the highest and best for you, for what you can handle at that moment. And you can also do really awesome things like shift energies, do healings inside your records, because everything's done on the spiritual energetic realm. And then if you're into the woo at all, you know it gets reflected at the physical level, and maybe really fast, or it may be a little bit slower depending on really probably the size of the shift, or the layers of the shift that you're trying to create. I've had a lot of stuff happen really fast when going into my records. So anyway, and you can Google Akashic Records and look up more about that. But like I said, it's been nothing short of mind-blowing, life-changing, totally transformational for myself. And the readings I've done so far for people, they have told me that it's that way for them too. Like the information that I've shared with them and what we've done inside their Akashic Records. So since I am in the middle of getting this certification, I want to practice a lot. So if you are somebody who is struggling with a situation, you want clarity on a situation, you want to get insight on a challenge you're having or a relationship, or it could even be a physical ailment that you're having. You can get information about your business if you have a business and you want insight on that. There's all kinds of things you can do in the records. And I am doing a limited number of Akashic Record sessions for free over this next month. So it's like mid-June. So like mid-June to mid-July for sure, I'll be doing them. Not sure what I'll be doing after that. After I have, my practicum quota, shall we say. But if you want one, Chris says, put me down for a reading. Oh, awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll message you, Chris. If you want one, here's what I want you to do, because you may be catching it on the replay. Post in the comments, AR session. So AR for Akashic Records session, or you can just say session. I'll get it. You could say Akashic Records. I'll understand what you mean. But comment with AR session, and I will circle back to you with a message, and just make sure that that's something that's a good fit for you, and we'll get it set up. So I don't have any automated messenger or whatever things set up for this. So just leave your comments in the video and I'll come back and reply to them personally. Or for friends, hey, message me. Let me know you want one. And we'll get you on the schedule for that. So, and this will be available, I'll be doing 10 of them or so. So if you want one, make sure you contact me quickly because this is going out. And I'll be emailing my Facebook community first, I'll be offering this. And if you're on my list, I'll be offering it to you also. So it's a first come, first serve basis. But y'all are pretty much the first ones to hear about this recently. I made one other offer at the end of one video, and I had some people take me up on that, and I decided to go ahead and do some more because I love doing them so much. They're so awesome. I love just being in that energy, and you will too. So if it resonates with you, comment with AR session below, and I'll get you the information. So that is it for today. We are complete for this live stream. I hope you found this super helpful, the tips that I shared with you on how to stop beating yourself up for feeling like you're not good enough, or feeling like you don't measure up, and all of the other ways that we, versions of how we do that to ourselves. Because the world, you are served when you're not doing that anymore, and you can show up as your best self in the world and to make your contribution, whatever that is, and receive the joy from life. Really receive the joy in life and the abundance that is for you. So I wish you many, many blessings. You're welcome, Chris. And I will see y'all soon on the next live stream, on the next live training. Take care. Bye.